Hello, Internet. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Eric's Corner with the word of the not so wise. If you've been following my show, you'll see that I'm doing something a little bit different again today. Got this big galoot hong yonker sitting next to me, and going to do another interview. This one is again going to be about Bristol Bay and the collapsed fish price. Shiloh, thank you for joining me. Real quick, 1 minute synopsis. Who are you? Why do you have a credible opinion on the matter?
Well, I have an opinion. I don't know how credible it is, but I've been a fisherman most of my life. I started when I was 7. Grew up fishing at Cook Inlet. Grew up fishing halibut in the Derby days when I was very young. Watched the Exxon Valdez kind of cut my teeth on the fight with Exxon. And ended up making the transition to Bristol Bay when I was young. I think I was 19 or 20, and I realized that I would never be able to make a living as a fisherman in Cook Inlet, and Bristol Bay was really the only option for me to get fishing time and to be able to work hard, to get the time that I needed to produce the pounds that I needed to make a living as a fisherman. And as fishermen, we do all kinds of different things. We're plumbers, we're electricians, we're framers, we kind of do lots of stuff. And it's part of the lifestyle. For me, fishing was always kind of the lifeblood of my family. And it's what I've known. It's my heritage. It's what made me really proud of my family in a lot of ways. So fishing is just really a part of who I am. So I went to the bay, and I started with a wood boat. It was a 1966 plywood boat built by George Ham here in Homer, which if you get a chance, that'd be a man to interview. He's built a ton of boats.
I just might.
It was a ham haul. It drew about 4.5 feet, which, in Bristol Bay is not ideal.
Really shallow water fishery.
I made it go for about 10 years, and ended up buying my my only permit. I leased my second permits. I ended up getting my permit paid for, and eventually got a bow picker, rebuilt it, got it out of foreclosure and rebuilt it, and honed my skills a bit. Definitely got to the place where I felt competent that I could make a go at having a high performance twin jet through picker. And so kind of started the process of building our own boat. Actually, Eric helped me.
Yeah, that's how we got to know each other. So that's what I did at the beginning of last year. So
we ended up building the Chuck Norris. We built it in a tent in the Northern Enterprises boatyard. We contracted the haul out, and then Eric and I and a couple of other friends, we finished the boat in about 4 months. So it was a hell of a run to get it going, and had a great first season, and really feel like it accomplished everything we wanted it to do. It's an incredible weapon, and when we have a price, the numbers pencil out. I've been able to do well, and that brings us to this year and to the price that we got. I knew the price would be low going into the season, but
the bottom
had I any idea that it was going to be 50 cents, I don't know that I would have taken the boat off the blocks. I think I could, make good money elsewhere, and I couldn't make the same money. When fishing's good, it's good, but I'm not in business to go backwards, and I think that's what probably 90% of the fleet did last year is we went backwards. And as much as I love this lifestyle, I just can't afford to pay to do it. I need it to pay me. I need it to pay the bills. And, I think we have a lot of contributing factors, and I'm not an economist. I don't know all the factors. What I do know is that our processors are struggling with high interest rates for their pack loans, which, instead of getting like a low interest rate pack loan, they got pack loans 8, 9, 10%.
Why aren't these companies big enough to where they don't have to take these loans?
I mean,
OBI,
nobody's
Peter Pan,
big enough. It's always cheaper to use somebody else's money. I mean,
not at
it's
9-10%, doesn't sound like.
not, well, that's the thing. You know, I don't think anybody foresaw this coming,
Yeah.
and so I don't think nobody had the cash reserves to just cash up front the whole season. I mean,
$1 billion worth of fish.
yeah.
Or
I
whatever it
don't.
is.
I mean, I don't have the budget to cash front my business. I mean, very few businesses do. Most people, you know, we use leverage. We have a small amount of money and we use it as a lever to swing a large amount of money to create an opportunity for ourselves, and that's how entire economies have been built, is by borrowing money, and usually the money has been, especially in the past few years, has been favorable to borrow. You know, interest rates have been low and they've been good, and I don't think anybody saw this coming. Now, there was a few guys. There's always naysayers. There's always the guys that are go, oh,
Doom
you're
and
going to
gloom.
get 50 cents a pound. And
Well, the
you
rumor
know,
was 80 cents a pound.
And I thought, I honestly thought we would never see sockeye below $1 after RSW really became the gold standard in the fleet.
Yeah.
And that's why I always was like, if I just base my numbers on $1, like, I know I can make it. Yeah. I know I can catch enough fish. I know I can do what I need to do at $1
250,000
base.
pounds. It's not even an absurd amount of fish, especially for a super picker.
No, so that's so when we got 50 cents, it was like, it was such a shock. You know, I was thinking 80. Like, once we heard it was going to be really low, I'm thinking, okay, I thought $1 would be the lowest we'd ever seen, and so then I was like, okay, well, maybe it's going to be horrible and it'll be 80. And then when they came out with 50, I just, you know, your heart sinks. Yeah. And you look at your crew, you look at the guys that have bled for you and suffered, and you're just going like, guys, you'd have been better off working at Safeway. Like, you know, it just, it's wrong. And, you know, we go out and especially the crew, you know, the crews really risk their lives to provide sockeye for the public. You know, people go to the grocery store and they pick up a fillet, and it's a beautiful vacuum sealed fillet. And nobody understands the price that was paid to get that fillet to that store. Yeah. Nobody knows how much suffering is behind that.
Sleeplessness,
if they
broken
understood,
bones.
The price would be twice what it is. But people don't understand because there's a convenience of walking into the store and grabbing the fillet. There's no suffering on the other end. Yeah. And so,
or they assume it's done with a
fishing
fishing pole.
Fishermen, being the last person in the line to get paid, are the ones who suffer the most and are paid the least.
Biggest risk.
And especially the crew. You know, like, I mean, I was a crewman for many years. I try never to ask my guys to do something that I have not personally done or would not personally do. If I'm asking you to clean the bilge, I've cleaned the bilge. You know, if I'm asking you to stay up 24 hours or 48 hours or 36 hours, I've done it too.
And you're going to do it with them.
And I'm going to do it with them. And at 50 cents, we all suffered. You know, the crew walked away with some. I think for the vast majority of boats and captains, I think most guys lost money, and most guys, you know, have taken out loans or have, some of them have put their boats up for sale already. I mean, it's not a sustainable number. And I think interest rates have been a big part of it. I think there's an element of corporate greed. You know, I heard recently Trident selling off a bunch of plants, some stuff in Kodiak,
which is where Trident is massive.
Trident's huge,
massive company,
and they're a big company. And I think some of that was done to streamline the facilities, but I think some of it might have been done to protect shareholder profits. And part of how they protect shareholder profits is making sure that we don't profit. And and so that was a tough. I don't know. It's tough, man. There's always been enmity between processors and fishermen. Back to the very, very beginning of Bristol Bay. See, when Bristol Bay started, John Clark kind of pioneered the Bristol Bay fishery. You know, he set up the Nushagak Trading Post, and they started bringing steamships up from San Francisco and Seattle, and they would tow the schooners up behind them, and with immigrant workers. Immigrant fishermen, guys from Sicily, guys from Russia, guys from all over the world, and they would come and they would fish, and they were essentially they were about like indentured servants to the companies, you know, to the fish packers. And whether people realize it or not, that attitude prevails to this day. The idea that the cannery is the boss man and the fishermen are the grunts.
Yeah.
And to some degree that's changed, but ultimately when you look at the price that was offered, it hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, and the price showed up when July 18th.
When it's
right?
far too late for us to make a reasonable decision to make another option.
Yeah. Wouldn't you think it would be reason? Because the first 2 years I was there, they dropped a base price, I think, of $1.10. And it was like, wow, they'd never done this. But this year, when they didn't drop a base price, it's, well, hang on a sec.
Pan, you know, John Bunker, I think, or not John, Roger May, I think is who it was, bought the company. And I think they were trying to make a real statement, like, hey, we want to, you know, we want to let you know what you're going to get paid. We're, you know, and I think they were trying to buy a fleet a little bit, you know, like they'd lost a lot of the top tier guys.
Justin, for one.
You know, I left last year after 17 years of working for him, and believe me, it's not the people or the personnel. I miss that place a lot. I miss a lot of the people a lot, but you know, there was some rumors going around last year that had me concerned, and I just felt like I needed to maybe make a change. But you know, I think they were trying to maybe right a wrong in a way, like, hey, fishermen should know what they get paid, at least worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And I applaud them for that. Like it was a good thing.
Like you said, pencil it out, see if we can make money.
Right. It gives guys an opportunity to decide, like, hey, is this worth it? And
well, do you think in the future it should be possibly required, hey, give us a base price and I know if it's worth going? Because the smaller operations, half the fleet lost money.
Yeah,
and that just is not.
Well, you know, ultimately,
not doing great.
And again, I'm not an expert on law. I'm not an expert on economics. But what I do know is if we look at the picture of the crab fleet, you know, they have kind of like almost like a profit sharing in a way, is my understanding. I'm not a crabber, but from what I understand, there's some correlation between processor profit and fisherman yield, is my understanding. And that's what I would like to see. I would like to see, you know,
well, I mean, that's
I'd like to see us fully
are.
in bed together. If the processor succeeds, we succeed.
Yeah.
If the processor struggles, we struggle. But what I don't want to see is, you know, the processors maintaining profits for their shareholders at status quo, and you and I on the bottom end suffer. I don't think that's right.
What if they cut us in on those shares, possibly?
Yeah, you know, there's got to be something, and I'm probably not the guy to give you the answer, or you know, what I can do is point out the problem and say, hey, it's not right. There's smarter people than me that are going to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, without people hearing your gripes, it's never going to get overhauled.
Just tell you, like, hey, man, like, this isn't sustainable. You know, this is not a way for me to, you know, I employ people.
Yeah.
I built a boat here in Homer.
Yeah.
I chose to build my boat in Homer. I employ people
what did it cost?
Community.
Around $1 million.
Over $1 million.
I mean, he probably paid me somewhere 10-15 grand myself.
I spent
you know,
most of it in this community.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there was jets and engines, and there's things that
don't build those here.
come from elsewhere. But when we're talking labor and services and parts, it was spent in the state of Alaska.
Yeah.
I can't employ people. I can't employ people to work for me as deckhands. I can't employ shipwrights and builders, and I can't do these things that keep our local economy thriving when we have a price this low.
Yeah.
Even at double the price, it's super marginal. We need to see $1.50 base. That's where the price right now needs to be. And honestly, with the economy, what it's done, it should be far, far more. But
well, back in 2005, let's just say the price was like 50 cents a pound. And they say, oh, well, this is the lowest price ever. No, equivalent, that's the equivalent.
Inflation,
exactly. This is 20 cents a pound.
20 cents a pound back then.
It's
probably the worst.
What's diesel? $6 a gallon. Yeah. What was your fuel bill, if you care to divulge?
30 grand probably.
Yeah, ours was probably about the same. And that's going over there at 8 knots.
I mean, yeah, we did the payroll the other day, but I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot, and that's my choice to operate a vessel.
Burns juice like a Humvee.
Burns fuel at that rate, but the catch rate is also significantly higher on that vessel.
And the comfort too.
On most years that pencils out very well, and for me, like, I made the personal decision to build that boat primarily for safety.
Yeah.
The runs we've been having have been so big that I've found myself in situations where fish are hitting my net at a rate that I can't stop them.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get the net back in, and I don't have the deck space, and I don't have the room, and I don't have the space for the fish. And now I'm in a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
I think we put like 22,000 on the Lady Fortune. We had to back to the tender in Ugashik one time. I mean, and it was.
You had to run backwards?
That was one set. Yeah, we had to drive like a mile and a half backwards to the tender.
Why backwards?
So if I was a bow picker, my nose was.
Oh.
It would have gone right under the water.
Oh, no
and
kidding.
This wasn't a situation where, people go, oh, well, you put yourself in that situation. Man, I laid the net out.
I wrecked it back in, and it's sinking.
I tried to tow it out of the fish as I picked it.
Yeah.
They were hitting that fast.
Yeah. And they come in massive floods like that.
And when I decided to bring my children on the boat, and that's the big thing, is that, I want to have a family operation. I want my son on board. I want my daughters on board. I want my kids being safe.
I want to send my kids with you.
And when I was young, we fished halibut in the Derby days. There were some times I was truly scared as a young person on the boat. I don't want that for my kids. I want them to feel safe. I don't want to put my kids at risk, and so I built a big giant boat that I feel is safe.
Yeah, we took some weather on the Snooks this year, so and we were just like, and it was no big deal. It's like we could not do this on the other boat.
I put just a couple 100 pounds shy of 43,000 pounds on there.
I think we deck loaded 32. I'm not sure if that's public information or not, but
it handled it very, very well, and some of that was just a total fluke. The boat is a safe, big boat.
Yeah,
that's why we built it. We built it. Yes, is it able to catch a lot of fish? Absolutely. Is it able to do a lot of incredible things? Yes, it is. But primarily, I'm not terrified when I get into big fish, and that's that's one of the big things about these type of vessels. But on years where they're going to pay us like this, these vessels don't pencil out.
No.
And the big problem is these vessels are so specific to this fishery. For us to use them for any other type of fishery to try and make money with them doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
There's been some guys that have tried dungey fishing them. And I think they've done okay, but then the price fell out of the dungeys too.
Yeah.
I looked into that this year. I was like, oh, I'll go dungey fishing after the bay.
Yeah.
Then, it went from like $4 a pound to like, $1.40 or something.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but they're just not. They're a special purpose built boat, and so it's difficult to find work for a craft like this outside of its intended fishery.
Yeah, now, not without jumping on a different boat. I was threatening to jump on another boat.
And ultimately, you can. There's always the naysayers. Oh, you decided to build that boat. Well, yeah, I did. I did decide to build that boat.
Doesn't mean you should go bankrupt because of a shit price.
But I sure didn't ever envision this situation.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We planned for what I thought would be the worst we'd ever see.
Yeah.
And
even if it just hovered right there, which would have been fine.
Yeah.
Well, again, with the inflation that we have, it makes no sense. And there's a very congruent opinion among fishermen going, what the hell? And you talked about when
there was a time that, I know guys that went fishing in Cordova when I was in high school. One day they bought a brand new pickup truck.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
What they made dollars per pound to what the dollar would buy.
Yeah.
Is completely different.
Brand new diesel truck is 30 grand. Yeah.
Well, go get a Ford F-350. Tell me what that runs.
They're about like a base model. A base model's around $65,000.
Right.
A basic truck.
We're talking like
the dolled up ones.
The dollar doesn't do what it once did, and so when we're still getting prices that I was getting when I was in high school,
yeah,
Actually,
Something don't add up
I
here.
think this is the lowest price that I have ever fished for sockeye in my life.
Yeah.
And I've been fishing since I was 7.
And the cost of things is
And the
insanely high.
And the cost of fuel is the highest I've ever
Well, and
seen.
you talked about when the canneries do good or the processors do good, where's our piece of the pie? Well, that's what retro checks were supposed to be.
Well, they
but
are.
They just aren't there anymore.
But you're relying on the honesty of of a corporation that's incentivized to not be honest.
Yeah.
Like, right? Their best incentive is to pay their shareholders the highest possible paycheck.
Yeah, the guy's
Their
doing
incentive
nothing.
is not to pay us the highest possible paycheck.
Why don't the shareholders pay for the goddamn pack
enough
then?
to keep us quiet and from raising hell.
Yeah.
And I get it. That's how business works. But the reality is
half the fleet goes bankrupt, so do they.
Change.
Yeah.
And there needs, and I don't have the answers. Again, there's a lot of guys out here that probably have a way better handle on this than I do.
Yeah. I'll find that guy. I'll bring him on.
Speak to what I'm seeing. You know, I think that there's some really insightful people in the fishery that have been in the fishery a lot longer than me.
Mm-hmm.
That have a lot of wisdom and a lot of understanding, and you know, I lean into a lot of those guys for advice, and you know, like, I don't ever want to come across like I know exactly, you know, the answer. I have it figured out, or I'm doing everything right. Man, I have a lot to learn in this fishery still.
Yeah.
It's an incredible fishery. I mean, it's a fishery that is, man, it's complex.
Made you a millionaire by 34, wasn't it? 34, 35? On paper, maybe, but...
well, I don't know if we'll go there.
Might have exaggerated a little.
What I can say is this fishery is, man, it's like a puzzle. Man, you're putting together all the pieces of this puzzle, the complexity of the water and the tides and the sandbars, and you know, the different systems and districts and how it's fished and where you go and what you do, and man, it takes time to figure it out. And you know, guys that are entering this fishery that are young, that are looking for an opportunity, there is no opportunity at this price.
Yeah.
Because you are gonna suck when you first start in this fishery. I don't care who you are. Like,
and you're gonna have a cheap piece of shit boat too.
Fishery where you're extremely competent. I've only seen the guys that come from the Copper River that are really good on the flats come to Bristol Bay and excel.
I would just follow Justin around.
I came to Cook Inlet as a young man, and I struggled.
Yeah.
You know, Cook Inlet's deep water. I didn't understand how to fish shallow water. I didn't understand how to fish sandbars. I didn't understand how to fish flats. And so it took time to learn. Well, my first year fishing was at 65 cents a pound. And I was able to just break even. And I was a young guy that had no bills. You know, my permit lease at the time was $8,500, not $25,000. My fuel bill was, you know, $4,000. Not, you know, like there's some huge differences in the costs associated with doing the fishery. There's no opportunity for young people to get into the fishery, struggle a little bit to learn. It'll take 2 or 3 or 4 years to get their feet under them and start producing, because that's what it really takes. Unless you walk into a really seasoned group that can hold your hand and help you figure it out, you are not going to be successful when you first walk into this fishery.
Well, and you mentioned when you first started talking, you know, we do a lot of things, plumbers, carpenters. I'm working carpentry now, but that stuff isn't always available through the winter.
Well,
now you got to go to the slope or
in the state of Alaska, where the revenue that comes in largely relies on oil and gas and fishing and tourism. Okay, so we come
very
off the
seasonal.
heels of COVID. Tourism's down. Okay, oil and gas is really doing well right now because fuel prices are high.
Yeah,
but the fishing economy, especially in the coastal communities, is way down. The guys that are building the boats, the guys that are supplying the shipyards and doing the marine trades and services, there's not the money there to support those jobs. So where do those people go? Oh, well, I'm going to go pound nails. Well, guess what? There's nobody buying houses because there's no money. And so now the guys are going, oh, I'm going to go to the slope. Well, there's only so many of those jobs available.
Yep.
You know,
that's what I looked into when I got back.
Many opportunities for people that live in these areas to support living here. It is expensive to live in Alaska. It is expensive to, to maintain a home and pay for heating fuel and buy groceries at Safeway.
Run your plow truck.
$300 like that, So
I have 4 kids.
right. So
You know what's up.
There's no money in the fishery. It doesn't just affect me and you.
Snowball effect.
It affects the guy pounding nails down the street. It affects the electrician. It affects the plumber.
Well, the politicians don't suffer, of course.
No, they got the Port of Homer lining their pockets.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no, the reality is people don't understand. We hear a lot about trickle down economics. It's kind of like a popular Bush thing.
Yep.
But the reality is there is trickle.
The sizzle word.
There is trickle down, especially at this level, this communal level, where you kind of have these pillars of the community, and a lot of these guys are, guys like, for instance, I think off the top of my head, you got like Ivan Basargent. He's building boats here in town. Yeah. When there's money around and there's guys that are able to build boats, well, how many guys is he employing in his shop? He's building a bunch of boats.
Pretty good handful.
He's employing guys. He's employing welders, and they're doing electrician, and they're buying stuff here, and there's people working at the gear shed, and there's money coming in there, and there's, Montana down at Desperate Marine is, he's bending hoses and he's making things, and there's so much that this community benefits from when fish prices are fair.
Yeah.
When they're where they're at now, it just hurts everyone. And so, like I said, I don't have all the answers. I'd love to see some guys on your show that a little bit older and have a lot more wisdom than myself. I feel like, I'm
kind of wouldn't mind hearing what Snooks has to say on official record.
Oh, totally.
She's been doing it for what, 12,000 years now?
Yeah, I'd love to see some other guys, opinions. I think I'd like to see some boat builders on your show.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some guys that are in the marine trades.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, that's kind of an open invitation. You see this video, if you got something to say, come here and say it. I am giving you an open platform, a world open platform to come here and shoot your mouth off. Come do it. Just hit me up. I'll schedule you in. My interview with Justin has the most views of any of my shows or any of my episodes. So,
I appreciate what you're doing here, kind of drawing an eye to this issue. And
I personally, I don't see, I do see why this happens. It's the nature of the beast. It's the industry. You're going to have highs and lows. I get it. But I just do, I've been around this stuff my whole life, not commercial fishing so much, of course, but I grew up in Homer, been around it. And the bottom to just fall out like that is just like, and with this hyperinflation. It's
really comparable to what happened when Exxon Valdez happened.
Yeah. That makes sense, though.
I was a kid when Exxon Valdez happened. And
89, right?
It was the first summer my dad was home.
89, right?
And I remember...
I want to say I was...
Me a date.
I was born 86.
I wish we had the lady in back, like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, look that. Yeah, so we can seem smart. Yeah, my phone's right there.
No,
so
I don't remember the date, but I remember being a kid, and I remember my dad was home.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, this is weird. My dad was home. He's always gone fishing in the summer. And then I just remember that winter, like, things were tight. The powdered milk came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got through. We survived. We lived. But, like, I think there was a certain element of suffering that families in these communities took place. And after years and years and years and years of litigation, like, nobody really got made whole in the deal. Like, it just was, and I'm not here to gripe about that. All I'm saying is this low price reminds me of that. It's like a devastating blow. And what we saw during that is we saw an exodus from the fishery.
Yeah.
We saw guys that went, well, this isn't going to work for me anymore. I think the year before that, Cook Inlet permits were like 250,000.
And this is back in '89. That's
guys
390,000.
Boats for like 250, and permits were like 250, and the guys that did that, they lost their ass, and they ended up doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and this is the thing that I don't know if the processors realize, the guys like me that are building the kind of boats like I built, we are smart enough to make money elsewhere.
Yeah.
And we've
Got other job
fishing
skills.
because we like the lifestyle and because we're good at it. And
Something to do with your
make good
kids.
money. And yes, but I can make money elsewhere.
Yeah.
And if I'm forced to, I will. And what's going to happen is they're going to lose the guys that are the bread and butter of their fishery.
Yeah.
The guys that are bringing the fish to the table regularly in volume, which they need volume.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's
It's a world
quality,
market.
Quality. Yes,
it's a world
we need
market.
quality. That's why I have a 10-ton RSW.
Mm-hmm.
But we need volume because they have to have it. They've got all those people that they're employing at those canneries to process fish. They've got orders to fulfill. They have to have volume.
Yeah.
So if they don't make a change, the guys that give them the volume are smart enough to make money somewhere else.
Yeah, and then the price to the smaller outfits goes up to $7 a pound. Well, great, nobody's going to pay $92 a pound for this stuff.
Well, I mean, it just is. Like I said, something's got to change. Hopefully, the right people can get together. You know, there's some movement towards kind of like a fisherman's union.
Oh God, please no.
No, and when I say a union, I don't say a union as in like. I don't say it as in like a. I think what they're actually calling it is like
co-op.
A co-op.
Yeah.
But it's not like a co-op where the money is split equally.
Yeah.
You know, you still keep what you catch, but it's more of like a collective agreement to bargain together.
Yeah.
Because if we don't come together to some point, you know, we're always going to be the little guy at the table. You know, Trident swings a big hammer.
Yeah.
You know, OBI swings a big hammer. You know, Peter Pan swings a big hammer. When me and you, we don't have a hammer. We're the nail.
Or made more of a fly swatter,
you know,
maybe.
So I mean, like, but when we all come together and we agree, and that seems huge. It seems huge to have that many independent thinkers come together and agree on something.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to get everybody, but if you can get a good amount of people to come together and say, no, there needs to be change.
Yeah. Or again, opt out of going. Say, hey, I will lose money at this. I'm out, and not have it affect your permit because you have to fish it.
Boat tied to the dock until you post the price.
Yeah.
Because to be
people
honest,
hauled their boats out like that day. I'm out.
I'd rather let my boat sit on the dock next year until July 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
To know that I get an equitable price.
Yeah.
Because I'll make up for what I would have caught at 50 cents a pound.
Less wear and tear on you, your crew, the boat.
My equipment, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to put hours on that for 50 cents a pound. It's not. It's way too expensive.
Almost not even worth the wear and tear on the engines, and that's bad. That's real bad.
It's not. So I'd rather stay tied to the dock than, you know, let's say we go catch 100,000 pounds in that time frame that we stayed at the dock. We could have caught 100. Well, 100 at 50 cents a pound. That's
50 grand.
50, maybe 75 when you count quality incentives.
Yeah.
Well, if the price doubles by staying tied to the dock, you've gone ahead because now you didn't put the wear and tear on your equipment, and now every fish you catch is
your crew's hands. Yeah.
Crew's hands is better. Your nets are better. You're going through less gear. And
300,000 pounds at 50 cents a pound versus 200,000 at $1 a pound.
Well, then here's the other thing that people don't maybe think about. Yes, maybe we let a lot of fish go up the river. But once they hit their escape, they let us go.
Yeah.
So maybe, just maybe, the kings go up the Nushagak, the escapement goes up the Nushagak.
Now we got kings.
We sit tied to the dock until we get our price. And then when we get our price, then we go kill our fish. With open,
yeah,
because they've got the escapement that they need in the rivers.
Yeah,
I mean that's an idea.
That's kind of a weird, funny thing the way they do that. I feel like,
dude, 24-hour fishing is like
it sucks.
That's what I love.
Oh, really? Ugh.
That's why I excel, man.
Yeah,
I excel when it's open all the time. When I can fish every tidal stage.
Yeah.
When I can.
Well, you can take a nap with the net soaking too.
Well, I can pick exactly where I want to be. At exactly the specific tidal stages.
Yeah.
I can deliver when it's convenient.
You're not gaming it, especially with a 40,000 pound capacity.
I mean, well, and it's
have a tail tied.
It's not even that. It's you know, you fish this stage of the tide. Okay, I'm near the tender. Deliver. Okay, you roll in. the tide's sweeping you up, and you time your deliveries. It's like a dance, man. That's
Yeah.
what I say. There's a nuance to this fishery. There's a complexity. Crew don't understand the decisions that go on in the wheelhouse of like, what is the tide doing? Where are the tenders? What is happening with the fish?
Yep.
What is my best opportunity to offload? Offload quickly.
Yep.
Get them off. Get our net back in the water. Get us
When
back
there's no
to the
tender
fish.
line.
Get fuel. Get water. Like, we got to do all this. And in 24-hour fishing, that's when it gets exciting and fun.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, okay, there's not a rat race to the tender. Like, it's more like you get to time yourself.
Yeah.
You do this set. You do this set. Maybe you deliver. You do this set. You do this set. You do this set. You deliver.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
To me, 24-hour fishing is awesome. So maybe we let some fish go up the river. Maybe we wait for a good price. Maybe we get to fish longer.
Yeah.
You know, and that's again.
I mean, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. You either slowly let fish up as you fish, or you just, hey, we're about there,
Hey man,
go,
these
hammer it.
processors can't sit there with canneries full of immigrant workers with no fish to process.
Yeah.
They aren't going to do it for long.
Yeah.
They can't afford to. They have to give us what we demand for.
Yeah.
If we will demand it, and we will do it firmly.
Yeah.
I mean, I know everybody's got bills to pay. I got bills to pay, but we're not going to pay them at 50 cents a pound.
Yeah.
So either we make a decision to make a change for our betterment, or we watch half this fleet go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Like, you know, and I just...
Oh, permit prices. Haven't permit prices dropped $100,000 from last year?
Yeah, they were like 270. I just saw one for like 135.
Yeah. When the other year, you know, we were on the old Justin time. They extended the opener. And we're like, good God, went for like 40 hours straight, and then what did we catch? 60,000. Never mind. It's not public. I don't know if it's public information, but we just kept making rounds, and then finally, and the boat just ran out of capacity. I mean, filled the boat, drop, filled, drop, filled, drop, filled, drop, and it's like, dude, we literally could have made one delivery with the big boat, made 2 deliveries, and doubled what we could have tripled what we did with the bigger boat. It was just incredible, which was great. It's like, yeah, we're rocking and rolling, but
built the bigger boats because we could see the opportunity, but you know, I mean, like, there's a place for the small operation in this fishery, man. There's a place for the...
Well, obviously, because we got set
and
netters.
his kid
We got set netters.
out there on the Rawson, you know. I mean, there's a place for that, man. This fishery's diverse.
Yeah.
It's culturally diverse. It's economically diverse. It's, you know, there's people from all backgrounds. You know, this is the largest human migration in the world. I think it's something over 13,000 people migrate to the Bristol Bay region for the fishery each year.
Yep. And if you talk about the ratio of how many people live in Dillingham, just Dillingham alone, let's just say,
the population explodes in the region, and all these people, all these jobs depend on these fish paying.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got the cannery workers there. You know, that's the other thing people don't talk about is their wages went up.
Yeah.
You know, there was some federal laws passed that raised their wages significantly, which increased processor costs big time.
Oh, well, that'd probably have a lot to do with it right there.
Well, but here's the thing. Our cost needs to go up. Everything needs to go up at some point.
Yeah.
You know, fuel's going up, cost of living's going up. We can't be the ones at the bottom of the barrel never getting a raise.
You have the biggest individual expense
Well,
by
the
a lot.
individual risk.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're not only risking our finances, but we risk our lives.
Yeah.
You know, bigger risk, bigger reward. That's how it's supposed to be.
Nope.
So, you know, we, you know, again, just something has to change, and I think having the willingness to let a few fish go up that river is going to be a big thing. You know.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on the price and Bristol Bay and
say $1.50 at least.
Well,
it's probably at least more than the
what
fish
I can
price.
say is that I love this fishery. I love this. I love the place. I love the people. I love the culture of it.
Yeah.
I love the work.
it was
I
definitely a
wanna
lot of
fish-
fun at
I wanna
times.
fish like snooks into my 80s
Yeah.
if I'm capable. Can't do that
Yeah,
if something doesn't change.
for
You
sure.
know, I'm raising my son on the boat. I want him to be able to fish. One day I'd like my son to have his own boat. I'd like to be in a radio group with my kid. How cool
Yeah.
would that be?
Yep.
That can't happen unless this changes.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at with it. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah,
giving
glad
me
you
an
could make it.
opportunity,
We've been
and,
threatening to do this for a while. Glad we got it knocked out. So,
well, hopefully your viewers enjoy it, and
Yep.
hopefully,
for sure.
I lift up to your low expectations.
That's a pretty low bar. Just kind of step over it. So anyway, Shiloh, thanks a lot for your 2 cents. I guess we're wrapping up, and hope we didn't go too terribly long. So folks, please buy some red salmon, hook a brother up. And again, like I told you before, this is an open invitation. If you want to come on my show in my man cave with my crappy background here and, you know, shoot your shot and get an opinion out there, if you have a solution, you are kind of obligated to come here and let people know what it is, or you really got nothing to complain about. We got technology, we got the internet. Let's use it. So thank you for joining me. Merry Christmas, actually. Have a good night. Hope to see you again real soon.